because there were far more people around me that hadn't worked nearly as hard for anything. They didn't have to work the way they didn't have to have matched my work ethic, as I'm sure, you know, I wasn't matching someone else's. You know, I'm not gonna pretend I was the hardest working guy on earth. I'm saying I was doing my part, and I was definitely putting efforts out every day. Even before I got in the restaurant business, when I was writing code, even that was 12-hour days. Maybe sometimes 16 as well, because I would work from home. It was nothing for me to wake up at 7:30, sit down at my desk at 8 o'clock, log on, and be there off and on until midnight. And that's busting your ass. It's, you know, the man says 40 hours a week. That's a base. You understand what I'm saying? The man says minimum wage. That too is a base. You understand? That is not, nobody should be mad about what the minimum wage is. That's for teenagers. Even the elderly who are retired just don't want to sit at home. If you're a 75-year-old greeter at Walmart, you don't give a shit that it's a minimum wage job. You're probably already drawing 2 pensions, one military and one from the private sector.
Yeah, but you know what? Pardon me, Al, for 1 second, but that's exactly what I'm talking about. That same mind state, because the same person who's drawing them pension checks, the people who got to get up and take care of them when they get old, you know what I'm saying? They the same ones working for minimum wage. You see what I'm saying? They the ones who got to lead the future. So that's what I'm talking about, like the mind state of people. Like everybody just worry about themselves. You see what I'm saying?
Minimum wage workers at a nursing home.
Nah, but
I hear what you're saying.
You know what I'm saying? I'm just saying, like, they're a little above minimum wage. They're not really like making a lot, but what I'm saying is it's like we don't give enough credit to the people in the lower positions who basically hold societies together. You know, like the nurses, for instance. You know, all the people in the nursing home, them people get old, they got to be taken care of, wiped. That's a lot, and that's a very big thing that they do to society, even for us teachers too. But a lot of these jobs where the future is in the hands of the professional, they're very underpaid.
Sometimes, you know, we may weigh contribution to society differently.
Yeah.
You see, some people would say that every teacher is underpaid.
Yeah.
To which I would agree.
Yeah.
To a limit.
Yeah.
Because I don't feel like the teachers I don't feel like they should be coming out of pocket.
Yeah.
When I hear stories like that, it infuriates me.
Yeah.
Okay, because then it's like, wait, they clearly don't make enough to be having to spend their own money, and them spending their own money shows dedication.
Yeah.
To an unrewarding career.
Watch your back.
Sir.
Okay. Them spending their own money definitely shows dedication to what is otherwise an unrewarding career financially.
Yeah, financially it's unrewarding.
Right.
And it could be unrewarding. It could be unrewarding mentally if you look at your job as you don't look at the benefits of helping, that you're leading humanity, that you're teaching kids and they're the future of humanity. And when you don't look at it like that, your job cannot be rewarding to you mentally. But if you look at it like that,
teaching is definitely, you're paying it forward.
Yeah.
And when you pay it forward, let's say.
But it's not just with teaching neither. It's also with like correctional officers, juveniles, and other things like nursing home jobs, like nurses.
I was being specific.
Yeah, I know.
But
I know. I was just making it clear for the audience.
There was definitely other fields because you're paying it forward in that when you're in the drive-thru and you pay it forward, you don't know who's in the car behind you, and you don't care.
You don't care.
And so when you're a social worker, when you're a teacher, you can get worn out and exhausted with the process, or you can keep remembering that you probably don't even know the lives you've changed because you changed them.
Yeah, but
you know what I'm saying? And you're a teacher teaching, and I don't care where, rural, inner city, suburbs, it doesn't matter. You got a kid that is troubled. You got a kid that really is on the fringe always. You got a kid that really at that point when they're in your life and in your classroom, they're being written off. They're not guaranteed to make it.
Yeah.
and they end up making it.
Yeah.
It may not be just solely because of you as a teacher, but believe me, you were a part of it.
Yes, and yes, that's another thing. That's what I was saying too. I don't want to get off subject, but that's another thing. You know, teachers and people like that, you know, we playing seeds. Nobody can change nobody out here. We can't even change ourselves. We'll say, hey, I'm gonna stop doing this, and we find ourselves keep doing it. You know what I'm saying? So it's hard to change yourself. Better yet, change somebody else. The only thing we can do is enforce positive environments around children and keep dropping seeds of wisdom and knowledge. Eventually, after you keep showing them positive things and you speaking positive things in their spirit, it's going to take root. It's going to become a part of them. You know, that's how you let your word become a part of you and you become the word. So when you hear these things and speak these things, it becomes a part of who you are. And that's why it's so important to beware of your environments and what you speak.
When I initially brought up teaching, I was bringing it up because it is a profession that does largely pay it forward in an unrewarding personal way in terms of personal gains. Unless you just get off on knowing that you've really done the good.
Yeah.
But when we try to weigh these contributions to society, sometimes we get it. We convolute it, as in we water it down, and we try to make all things equal when they're not. Does a teacher has some risk, depending on where they're teaching. You know, you can get harmed physically. You know, some female teachers have been assaulted sexually, even. But I still don't weigh that risk as much as the guy who's climbing the George Washington Bridge to change light bulbs every day. And I feel like he definitely deserves to be paid far greater than a teacher.
Yeah.
Which is why he is.
Yeah, but hold on for 1 second. Now you see the point he just made about the guy building George Washington Bridge should be paid.
I didn't say building.
Well, you know, climbing and building, you got to climb it to build it.
Well, now, you got to build it to climb it.
Yeah, you got to build it to climb it, and you got to climb it to build it. You got to do both. So at the same time, what I'm trying to say is the teacher is just as important, because that person who climbs that bridge, the teacher is responsible for finding the gift in that child and elevating and cultivating that gift. Because in today's society, parents don't have time to sit down and sit with their kids and find the gifts and nurture it. This is what a teacher is for, being able to go in there and find that gift in that child and nurture that gift and try to compensate that gift in that child so he can grow up. Now, the person who likes to climb and build bridges, there's certain people out here who likes doing that stuff. You see what I'm saying? And the teacher is the one who's going to cultivate that in the child. You see what I'm saying? Instead of the child going off this way and that way and finding things in his life that he might not do, the teacher will find out the direction that the child would like and will be good at. You see what I'm saying? So the teacher is just as important as the person who built the bridge. That's the only point I wanted to make. You know what I'm saying?
But risk versus reward, there's other factors that come into play. Listen, like Larry Merchant, the HBO boxing analyst, once famously said, you play baseball, you play football, you play golf even, you don't play boxing. It's blood sport. There's no guarantee of getting out of the ring alive.
Yeah.
If someone were to complain about what a prize fighter makes, then you get in there and risk your life. You are not guaranteed to live through the ordeal.
Yeah.
This is why it is so rewarding.
Yeah.
And like I said, I went over,
you know,
remaining specific to a teacher per se. Again, it's a dangerous world, depending on where you are, how you live. But when I spoke of teaching, and I'm not honing in on teachers as valuable or invaluable, but just remaining with teaching, you could slide in other civil servants, social workers, and post office workers, because the point would still stick that. Whereas someone could come to work and go postal at the post office, whereas some kid could come to school and become the school shooter. Man, that is the chances are minuscule and almost finite of that happening. Whereas the person who has to climb the George Washington Bridge to change a light bulb risks his life for sure every day. Every moment of his day, he is in peril, and that is where the risk versus reward factor comes in. Yes,
that's very true. But as human beings, like I was saying, my point is that we shouldn't rely on physical rewards. That shouldn't what we were driven off of. That's the main reason we started this conversation, to show that the world is in turmoil because we are physically driven by physical rewards here. You understand?
Now that we've zoomed in, let's zoom out a little bit.
Hold on.
And get a little broader.
No, hold on, because I want to finish.
Doctor,
I want to make my point because I'm trying to give points to people on this video. It's about you sharing your opinion. I'm going to share my opinion because people need to hear both sides of the coin. Because it's people that sit with you. It's mad people going to listen to this video who sit with your opinion. But people need to hear this other side of the coin. You understand what I'm saying? That's not being talked about. You know what I'm saying? And the other side of the coin is this. You know what I'm saying? People are driven by physical matters. All right, he go build bridges. Yes, he's taking a risk every day. He might get paid $200,000 a year. So, or $100,000 a year to build bridges. Does that make his job more important than the police officer who's risking his life every day? Does that make his job more important than the doctor? You know what I'm saying? Who got lives in his hands? Does that, you see what I'm saying? It's all equal. But I'm gonna tell you what, hold on. Let me finish because I never cut you off. Let me finish. And let me say this right here. And does this right here. That's just like saying that the pinky toe is more important than the big toe. Or the heart is more important than the brain. Or the leg is more important than the eye. You see what I'm saying? Now, just because certain parts seem to be more needable than any other part in the body, but that's not how the body works. That's not how the body works. And once we start breaking that down, we can see as a function as human beings, everybody is strengthened in different areas. You see what I'm saying? And when we start looking for physical things, this is where the unhappiness comes in. Because now this man is going out here doing this job. He like, I need more money. I'm putting myself at risk all day. But he's got everything he needs. You see what I'm saying? But he want more and more and more and more. So when you got a heart like that, it becomes like your stomach. It's never full. As long as you live, you got to keep filling it. You see what I'm saying? That's where the hearts of men is at. They want all this material things they never satisfied. You know what I'm saying? They keep wanting more and more and more and more. And this is why there's so much poverty and so much wickedness in the world right now, because the hearts of man is like a stomach. They want more and more and more. And it's all about greedy and self. And that's what we need to change. We need to start living for things that's better. Things that's better, like not the benefits of financial things, but the benefits of humanity things, uplifting humanity together as a whole in love and peace. Then we can start having a better world. That's all my point. I want to try to get y'all to see that. I'm not knocking my brother's point or y'all point. I just want y'all to see the other side of the coin that most people don't think about. So that's what I'm here to do, to show other people the other side of the coin, not to argue with nobody, but we just having a debate. I wanted to record it.
The teacher has 30 students. You know, every teacher isn't a special ed student. Every special ed student isn't trying to kick the teacher's ass.
Yeah.
The chances of the teacher having a perilous day is very slim.
Yeah.
There's way more teachers than there are inner city thugs attacking teachers.
Yeah, but I'm
If I may.
Yeah, go ahead, my bad.
You know, the doctor,
Yeah.
you know, the police officer, you know, he in an 8-hour shift, he doesn't answer 30 calls even.
Yeah.
So he doesn't even have the amount of interaction that the teacher has. Whereas George Washington Bridge is the most traveled bridge in the world. 2 million people cross it a day.
Yeah.
That, you know, and that's the amount of souls that this man has in his hands. That if he doesn't paint this bridge, maintain this bridge the way that he does, this bridge can't afford to rust and fall. You know, when you're talking about a captain of a plane, an A380 carries 270 souls. He's flying 17 hours across an ocean. He's over water the entire time. With 270 lives in his hand. That's 8 years for a teacher. That's who knows how many weeks even for a cop in terms of how many calls he actually takes and people that he interacts with, whether he arrests them or not. Just calls that he takes. Everybody that he talks to doesn't got to wear bracelets. What a captain of a jumbo jet has in his hands right now. What he's responsible for. When that plane falls over in Toronto in the ice, everybody goes, nah, that's captain error. They wouldn't have landed if the conditions wasn't fit for him to land. It was obvious that he could, so on and so forth. We're not looking at the plane. We're looking at the human. And this is why. And you know, when I talked about you don't play boxing, this boxer may not get out of this ring alive. So if he wants $4 million and he dies, that's all his family is ever gonna get. He ain't got another night to earn. So when we weigh in, him getting in the ring and dying wasn't a contribution to society. but it's still risk versus reward. There's
Yeah.
it's not. All I'm saying is
Yeah, but what I'm saying,
that there's it's not black and white for me, because
Yeah.
I see the shades of gray in this.
Yeah.
That a surgeon who separates conjoined twins,
Yeah.
he may only do this twice in his life.
Yeah.
And yes, he deserves more money
Yeah.
than a janitor.
Yeah.
A janitor did not have to apply himself and have the same skill set and that this guy has.
Yeah.
Believe me, all of those other hours that he is not
Yeah.
separating conjoined twins, he is still
Okay.
furthering the science of his field.
Yeah, but I'm gonna say something. Can I say something right quick?
I'm good. I'm done.
Because I want to say this. Because even as far as the pilot, he has to have a great teacher to make sure he's fully equipped and trained to go in there and handle this job properly. You know what I'm saying? Even as far as a kid, you know, most people don't know who they are, what they want to be when they grow up. Most people, you can go to them, they're 20, 30, 40 years old, they have no idea they still don't have who they want to be when they grow up. You ask them, what's your gifts, what's your talents? Most 40, 50 years old don't even know what gifts and talents they have. That's because we don't have proper teachers to nurture the gifts in people at a young age. You know what I'm saying? And then another reason is teachers are very important to teaching whoever it is, whether it's a plane driver, a train driver, you know what I'm saying? Whoever it is, they're responsible for teaching these people properly. If they're not being taught properly, they're not going to be able to function and do their jobs properly. So even if the teacher decides to train somebody that build bridges and he got a nonchalant attitude in the class and he goes through the whole class not caring what he learns, and that same person is responsible for building the bridge now, and he says, hey, I'm not going to put this part in because I don't think we need it. Because I've never seen this in school.
That person will
saying,
never be in that position.
No, I'm not saying without good teachers that would happen. That could happen without good teachers.
Engineering is the hardest degree.
I know what I'm saying.
To get, because only 27% of the people who start and they finish in it. That person who's not paying attention is never going to be on my bridge.
All I'm saying is that some things that we look at as being nothing is something. You see what I'm saying? Just like people who clean up. For instance, suppose they didn't clean their jobs right in the hospital. They janitors in the hospital, and it's a deadly virus over here, and they ain't cleaning their jobs up. They still could put a lot of people at risk, where it could be a deadly outbreak or something. Yeah, it's not as bad as building a bridge, but each person is contributing. Maybe we may not look at it in our eyes as it's equal, but it's all equal and contributing to society, even as far as the people who make food. If people that work building bridges or teachers, they wouldn't be able to do their jobs if we wasn't getting food properly to people. They would have to spend their days looking for food. You know what I'm saying? But being that people out here working and putting food out here, they don't have to look for food. You see what I'm saying? So everything is just as important as the other. Because this is a Mexican guy, he working in the tomatoes field, and you're a genetic or whatever engineer, you know, some kind of engineer. You know, he's getting paid $5 an hour, or you get paid $5,000 an hour, or $1,000 an hour. You see what I'm saying? Like, I just feel like maybe he should get paid money, but sometimes in society, they have society very unbalanced. Like the manager might make so many thousand while all the workers are making this much money. You know what I mean? While he's got his plate full. Don't get me wrong, but
he has much more on his plate than any of them have on theirs, dude.
They
are only responsible for their job.
Yeah, but that don't mean they should be underpaid.
I didn't say they should be underpaid.
That's all I'm saying
I'm saying that they shouldn't be paid what he's paid.
They might not can make what he's paid, but at the same time, man.
They're only responsible. Like, you got a grill man, you got a cashier. They're only responsible for their job. And even though, yes, the grill man has to clean up and clean his area, those are other duties of his job. The manager is responsible for all of what they both do.
But you know that
he can do both those jobs.
You know, that mind state right there is the reason, like things like that is a lot of reason why things will be going down in society. Because, you know, think about this. Sometimes if you remove something out of the ecosystem, and it may be just one insect that just make a certain noise at a certain time of the day, if you remove that insect out the ecosystem, that ecosystem will collapse. You know what I'm saying? Now, you might not realize that one thing is doing a lot for the ecosystem. You see what I'm saying? Because it's as way it's functioning at whole. But once that thing is removed, everything else starts to break down slowly. You see what I'm saying? And that's kind of how I look at the system of the world.
Name something like that.
The whole world.
Like, name something in particular that you had in mind to support your statement of something being removed from an ecosystem, and slowly but surely that removal of that one thing erodes that ecosystem.
The honeybee. That's the one for the whole earth. The honeybee.
If we take the honeybee
off the fucking earth, the whole earth would collapse.
Okay.
That's a fact.
And are we taking the honeybee?
The honeybee is going extinct right now. The honeybee is going extinct. You know what I'm saying? The honeybee is going extinct. The honeybee is responsible for pollinating most of the flowers here on earth, most of the plants and plants and flowers we got because of the honeybee. And being that we have destroyed so many natural resources on the earth, deforested so many forests and cut down so many natural habitations, that the honeybee is on the verge of extinction, and this could be a major, major catastrophe on earth, which is already happening, but I don't know how fast it's happening, but we know by the seismic activity of the earthquakes. Look at this 80 degrees in March right now. Like, this is rare. A lot of these things going on.
Actually, it's been spring for a week. It's not rare. Cold fronts and hot fronts are working against each other at this time of the year. It's going to be 40 degrees next week.
Yeah.
That's the way it's supposed to
Yeah, but
go
what's
right
going
now.
on right now, the sun is having intense solar flares right now, which is putting out intense heat, and this is a fact. They're studying this in science right now. There's intense solar flares going on within the last 10 years or last couple years, which is causing the earth to heat up. This is why we've been getting extremely hot summers. The spring is coming, summer's coming early in the spring. And this is why the winters have been mild. Lots of snow, but mild winters. Because the sun is seeing out solar flares right now. Man, he gonna. I know, he riding like he ready to goddamn run the light. He looking on the side like, pay attention to the front. You know what I'm saying? You gotta drive for people, because people don't pay attention out here.
I want to say two things. On the topic that we're on. Number one, in order for this equal society of yours to ever exist, you know, hypothetically, now it's starting the world over, and everyone is going to give everyone. In other words, every single adult that procreates is going to be morally, ethically, they're going to fulfill the social contract. We don't have to share the same God, but you got to know everybody should know when you bump into somebody to say excuse me, and you shouldn't do it on purpose.
Exactly.
Okay. Moral, but we could say that today, since people kill people, they go a lot further than just bumping into one another, that morally and ethically, we are all far from equal. Education-wise, we are all far from equal, which means we can't even have equal efforts amongst people. Yeah. And this was the point that I was driving at when I first began talking about, you know, being a student from the Bronx who made sure he got the good grades, who did everything right. So when I found myself busting my ass working 16-hour days, I wasn't giving a frog's fat ass about a motherfucker that was going without. Yeah. Because he wasn't putting in the effort that I was putting in, bruh. Yeah, nothing was given to me. Yeah. And I've said this to you before. 80% of millionaires are first generation. Yeah. So it wasn't given to them either. Yeah. They came up with something.
Yeah, but that's not what I'm saying as far as the equal world. In the equal world, everybody would have...
The second part, so the first thing is everybody would have to, from birth, be putting forth an equal effort.
You can't, not from birth. You can't even crawl yet.
Then when are we going to start?
Well,
yes, actually you can from birth. If you want to know why other communities are excelling and the black community appears stagnant in some ways, it's because we believe things like we can't teach a 4-month-old
No, this is why I was just telling you about teachers.
Playing piano.
No, this is why I'm telling you about teachers. That's why I just told you the teachers
and I'm not talking about teachers.
I know, but I'm
talking about parents.
I know, but the parents don't. But parents don't have time for kids because they got to work 40 hours a week right now, and they're tired. Yes. The poor person. Hold on. The poor person.
To my second point. A lot of these people that you are worried about,
I'm not.
Well, you know what I mean.
Man, we gotta worry about them because I was that person. I would never forget that. I never forget that most of the world is poor.
If you want to be technical, I'm that person right now too.
Yeah.
Okay. But here's the thing. When you was in prison, you was in there with men who were rich.
Yeah.
And men who were going to be rich.
Yeah.
You were in there with men who were rich, who were broke, and were gonna be rich again. All of those situations was existing.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's
So
not my point.
for some men, they were just passing through. And some shit that happened. For others, it's a life. That's not those men's fault for whom they were just passing through. They did some shit. They paid their time. They did their time. They paid for their crime. He smacked the shit out of his wife. She hit her head, and yo, it was a little bit more than a slap.
Yeah.
Nigga, you done lost your career, but you was making 200 grand a year. You're not in there thinking like everybody else. And now you thinking, when I get back out, I can't go back to that 200K a year life because I've been excommunicated from that. But I'm not gonna starve. I know how to make money this way, this way, this way, this way. This is just some place you passing through. Now, when we get out of here, and we ain't all putting forth the same effort, but that's still on the first point.
Hold on. Your point is dragging on. Before you make the second point, let me respond to the first point.
Go ahead.
You know what I'm saying? Because you're going off a society that we're talking about now. I'm talking about nurturing a new society. That's what I'm talking about, nurturing the kids. So we can have a certain standard to live by. If you notice, mankind will set any standard he wants to live by. As the devil would say, as his logo is, do as thy wilt. You know why the devil's logo is do as thy wilt? Because some people think that killing is natural. Some people kill animals all day, every day. Hold on. But that's not a natural standard of living. It may be for animals, but it's not for man. So therefore, when man try to make his own standard, see, we got to realize that, man, we're not above animals. You know what I'm saying? And the more we think we are, the more we are lowering ourselves to the states of animals. Just like killing for whatever reason possible, that's lowering yourself to a state of animal. What a man got to kill another man for? Or even animals. We don't even have to kill animals. You see what I'm saying? And that's why I say we got to be held to a standard. Even for survival for what? Because if we hold to a standard, the standard is thou shalt not kill. That's the standard.
No, I just wanted to know, is defending yourself not a reason?
But you shouldn't have. No, because he shouldn't be trying to kill you.
But if he is?
No, but if he is, the standard of human society, if a man is trying to do something like that, he will be dealt with. And the standards of society, by society, the society standard.
I'm in society.
No,
so
I'm
if
saying.
I'm the one and he's trying to kill me.
Listen, we talking about on the new world. If we start teaching new children, we're bringing around a new generation. We're not talking about this world. We're talking about a new world where standards are high, where we have a human standard. This world, we don't have no standard.
I'm only gonna say one sentence, and this was. I know the first point was drawn out because the second point wipes it all out. How many? And I was gonna say, how many of these, just even on the street that we're walking on right now, right? Beautiful Saturday afternoon.
Yeah.
I'm so glad we're getting out and exercising. I'm sweating. I don't know
Me
about
too.
you.
That's why I should have kept my little shorts on.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I discouraged you.
Yeah, nah, you got it.
But even on the street, you understand this new world, and you're speaking of it. And it's almost like you're overlooking this one major thing.
What's the major thing?
95% of these people's jobs are about to be eliminated.
Hold on, but the thing about it is, and this is what I'm trying to tell you right here. You talking about 95% of people's jobs are eliminated. In the new world, it won't be no elimination of jobs. You know why? Because everybody will have to work. Because it's a lot of things for everybody to do. It's bridges need to be built. Bridges need to be repaired. It's people need to be served. It's people need to work fields to get food for people. It's people need to, we got it? It's people that need to get oil. It's people that have to build houses, work on plumbing, electrical. It's always something for somebody to do. It shouldn't be people out of work. You see what I'm saying? Because if it's nothing, we always got something to do for everybody. And if we
want, a lot of shit that you think that we still would have to do, you know.
Listen,
a lot of it we won't be doing.
We still have
some of the stuff you mentioned, definitely building bridges and building homes. But then again, even that, the robots is doing drywall. Robots can
you don't need robots. What robots doing it for?
You saying we don't need, and what you don't understand is, if I'm a home builder and I built 200 homes last year, I know I could build 600 this year with robots.
Why build so many homes, right? Why build so many homes? Think about it. You build so many homes, and you got so many homes up now with nobody, with nobody living in them. You understand? You got buildings taking up, killing natural wildlife.
I made a bad example.
Hold on.
Even if I built the same amount of homes, I could build it costing less by not having manpower is all I meant.
Listen, you still got building machine. Who gonna build a machine?
No, machine's built. I gotta buy the machine.
All right, so now what? Now
It's
you
a
would-
one-time
So
purchase.
basically what? You might as well just eliminate man then.
Well,
We're not living a life for make machines. We living a life to put people
I'm
to.
glad that you arrived that they might as well eliminate man part because the elites
That's what it's-
don't have a problem with that.
This is why, because they need to start over because man is too fucking selfish and greedy. And maybe the elites is part of the selfish greediness that done took a hold of the whole society now. They done perpetuate this fucking greedy, selfish, narcissistic fucking society that everybody fucking think is a natural way of living. And to walk in love and truth and light, you're looked at as a weirdo and nobody out here. But I'm gonna tell you something. The Lord is tired of this stupid ass world. And all these egotistical people in this world, they better change their ways and start living in love and humanity, because the Lord is not going to put up with it too long, because we can't function without each other. And the more we think we can, the more shit gonna get worse for us here, for our own doing and the planet. That's all I'm gonna say. Because I believe that man has a very big effect on the earth. Natural disasters and things like that happens on the earth. It's all about our energy that's driving this. Everything else is not moving on the earth. Trees are staying still. Plants and flowers are staying still. You know, man is the only energy that's moving here on this planet. That's got the energy to move oceans, lands, and everything. And that's exactly what we're doing. So if we the only energy that's moving, got the power to move land and ocean and things like that, don't you think that energy reverberates into the universe and into the earth? And it can have an effect on how they respond to us moving things around on the shit? It's just like going into a body, moving body parts around. Don't you think the body gonna have a negative effect when you moving things out of order? That's what's basically going on in the earth. And the more we get out of order spiritually and physically with the earth, because the more we got out of order spiritually, we're gonna get out of order physically. And once that happens, the whole earth is gonna get out of balance. Right now, you can say the earth has COVID. The earth is sick with COVID right now.
And we got over COVID. You know, they say that if you stop smoking at any time, after a few years, it will be as if you never did.
I believe that.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So, you know, we're over COVID. But, like, look, I lost a lot because of the fucking pandemic. Personally. That I worked all my fucking life for. But I'm just not a selfish guy. I always tell you, it didn't happen to me, it happened. I don't take this shit like that. Like, oh, you know, far greater men who worked way harder than me, like I said. Like I've been saying all along. Even when I was busting my ass, I wasn't so egotistical about it that I thought that I was doing something, watch yourself, that nobody else could do or nobody else was doing. I knew that there was people busting their ass 3 times more than me. And they lost their ass too.
Yeah.
But if it's gotta make way for a new life and a new world, I'm with it. The same way I was with when I was in the computer industry in 1999. If 2000 was gonna mean the end of the industry, then let's push these buttons. Can't avoid the inevitable.
You know what? I'm gonna end up with this because I like that you said that, but I'm gonna end it with this. You know, everybody talking about get rid of the government and all this stuff. I used to say that stupid ass shit too when I was young. But the government is not the problem. You know what I'm saying? If you have plenty of wars been going on throughout the history of mankind, and mankind been overthrowing governments, and new government taking its place. And each time, it don't matter what race it was, each time governments have become greedy and selfish and oppress the people every time throughout history. The government is not the problem. The problem is within each one of us, our selfish, greedy behaviors. That's why they say when you want to find God, you got to look within. You know what I'm saying? It's not the government doing it to us, it's us doing it to us. Imagine if everything was free, fruits and everything here growing on trees. You think people be out there taking all the fruits? There'd be somebody with no fruit. And some greedy motherfucker take the last fruit and he got bundles of fruits home. And there'll be somebody with no fruit and that greedy person will take it from that person. And that's the heart that's keeping the world down. That's the heart that needs to be changed. We need to look at everybody else and say, well, I want somebody to do that to me. Well, I want to be like, let me help this person. You understand what I'm saying? That's the mind state that the world need to have. Until then, this cycle will repeat itself. Overthrowing the government is not the issue. Man's heart is the issue. This was a nice dialogue with me and my boy Al Green. Nice walk on a Saturday morning. It's my great intellectual partner right here, man. He always sharing the best knowledge, enlightening me every day, trying to get me to see the other side of the spectrum. His glass always half full, mine's always half empty. So I always talk to my man that I agree and keep me up. Y'all, peace and love, man. Enjoy your Sabbath day.